We will continue to bask in ignorance if we fail to learn what we ought to learn as at when due. It pays to pay your tax because a tax well paid adds value to the society. Countries around the world are well sustained due to the fact that citizens pay their tax. Right on today's session of our podcast, I am very, very much privileged and honored, to bring to your notice about a topic that is very, 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 very important to the development of our nation, Nigeria, and to the development of other African countries. Taxation is interesting, taxation is good, and taxation will help and will aid in the development of our dear country and our dear continent. Welcome to today's edition of MJR Podcast. Welcome to a session filled with entertainment, filled with knowledge, and filled with informative ideas that I believe at the end will help you in your development. Right on today's edition, I have a very special guest on our podcast for today. And before I introduce him, I would just like, to say a few things about him. I won't say his name. He'll be the one to tell you guys his name himself. Knowing him has really been something really very, great, a privilege to me. He has added value, to my existence, whether he wants to admit it or not, because coming to a circle of learning where you don't know anybody, and for someone to stand up and alone to say anytime you need me, I'll be there, it's really, really, really something really great. And aside from that, is somebody who I esteem, somebody whose knowledge cannot be debated, somebody who is relentless and hardworking in what he does. His focus is unshakable. Without wasting English further, please give it up to our guest on the show. Like I said, he's going to introduce himself.
All right. First of all, I want to say thank you to MJR Podcast, and it's really a great concept, and this is really great. It's an honor to be on MJR today to share some insights into taxation. My name is Ater Vendaga, and currently the president of the Tax Club University of Abuja. So I want to say it's a great opportunity to share my insights.
Welcome, Mr. President. It's really, really a privilege to have you on the show for today. People have mystified taxation. Some have said it is a means, of the government to continue taking and taking and taking from the people, and not giving to the people. And I've always said, if somebody does not know, he does not what? He does not know. That is why we choose to bring in student experts like you in taxation to come and help us open our eyes, help baptize us out of our ignorance. So once again, you are welcome to today's edition of the podcast. So my very first question for our interview today is, what has been the public response to taxation over the years in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Taxation as a concept is always looked at as being vague for the Nigerian society because it involves taking money from the person. There was a time we were having a conversation with somebody and I said, if he's actually working and so his taxes are deducted from the salary. Say, if I am to pay the taxes myself, do you think I will pay the tax? So that is the concept that you should know that people have about tax. But I think the reason for the poor response to taxation in Nigeria is basically the fact that the citizens have lost that trust in the government. They have lost the trust they have in the government, and due to low tax morale, they have seen taxation rather as a punishment, which ordinarily supposed to be a duty and obligation. So there is a low tax compliance in Nigeria. I must tell you the fact. The statistic we can lay a hand on available in the FRS shows that even out of the 120 people that 20,000 people that have registered for taxes, about 62% of those companies or those businesses are reluctant to paying taxes. So you can see how compliance to taxation is very low in Nigeria. But just like I said, one of the major reasons is that there is a great distrust. I think the government have failed at some point, and the citizens have lost that trust in what they're supposed to have done. Because taxation is an obligation. It's something that you're supposed to do, because according to a tax expert, Adesola, she said taxes is what you pay to the government to keep the government from going. So it's something that the citizens ordinarily should pay, should do, because it's an obligation, and the social contract demands that they should perform.
Thank you for the question. Well answered. So the citizens don't trust the government. That's why they are not willing to actually pay tax. Wow, that's interesting. Now, the second question is, though it's a little bit, even your answer has even provided, the answer to this question. But I would just still like to, bring the question back. It says that, have the revenue being generated through taxation been put to proper use?
Okay, that is a very nice question. The revenue generated from taxes, tax have been one of the main sources of revenue in Nigeria. But then there are so many issues when it comes to taxation, because those who are collecting the taxes are not really the ones to implement or to use the taxes. They are accountable to some people who use it. And so I think the government, who at the end of the day have policies to use this money, have not really been, active in showing the citizens what these tax monies are being used, and part of which have caused the reason for that distrust. Because the citizens keep paying, they're paying taxes, but they are not seeing something in return. Recently, I stumbled on a post about Elon Musk, that he will be paying about 11 billion taxes. And he's okay with that because there is environment available. He's seeing what those taxes are being done. And ordinarily, he don't need to be compelled to do that. But I think the government have not effectively used the taxes collected, generated from the collections of taxes from the citizens. I think they have not really been doing so well in that angle.
So failure of value in terms of the citizens seeing what they are paying for. It's just like someone who went to buy who wants to buy Gary in the market, and they supplied him with Gary. No, sorry. I mean, they supplied him with rice, because he has not really seen the value of what he actually paid for. So basically, I think it's like you said, it's one of the things that draws citizens back from actually paying tax. Well, it's really, really, really worth the while. I can see now that if various institutions that are using this money of taxation are using it for the proper use, then the citizens will have no choice but to comply with this obligation. It's really, really fantastic. Now, what is your advice to taxpayers. Let's start with taxpayers. I know that it has really been hard for people, especially people that are, at the end of the day, that are being paid peanut, and yet out of this peanut, they will still be taxed. And after they pay this tax, the value of what they paid for won't be seen. In the eye of justice, it is unfair. But you, as a student tax expert, what is your advice to them?
Okay, it has always been a very hard thing for us, even for who are advocating for taxation, because we will go there, they ask us questions like, the ones we have paid, what have we seen? So why are you encouraging us to pay tax? But we'll keep doing it because we believe that taxation is one of the sustainable source of revenue for the country. Let me share with you what happened in 2012. The total money collected from taxes was more than the allocated budget for that year. That is to show you how great taxation sector it is to the Nigerian economy. But I think as a citizen, we have the power to hold our government accountable. So I think we need to begin to question every system that has failed to work. But shying away from taxes is not what I would advise the citizens, because first, like I said, it's an obligation. It is beckoned on us as citizens to perform social responsibility and social obligations that we have. We have to pay the taxes, but we have to begin to question the system. We have to begin to engage our government. We have to begin to hold them accountable for this. We can start at the very barest level at the local government. The local government collecting taxes. We can start demanding from them, or if possible, elections are coming. Let's look at the way to, if possible, to record those officials that are there, because the issue of tax collections, we should not get it wrong. The FRS, Internal Revenue Services of the states, even local government revenue committee are only servants of the system. They collect the taxes, and at the end of the day, they have the power to assess, to collect, and account for the taxes. But they are in no way the ones that determine what those monies should be used. So we cannot say we should not get it wrong that it's the FRS or the body collecting taxes that are wrong. So it's hinged on the government, and so we have to begin to get the government, on their toes to begin to do the what is their duty when they collect taxes.
So what you're saying is, cutting your head off is not the solution to headache.
Yes.
So let the people not shy away from paying their tax as at when due, just because the government are not using it for the proper use. But instead, the people should stand up. They should ask questions pertaining to what those money is being used for and when it's being used. So, wow, that's really, really interesting. Well, you've even covered the next question I want to ask, but I still want you to still touch that area a bit. The last one is, what is your advice to the government? What do you think they need to do? What institutions they need to set up to ensure that the tax money that are being collected are, used for their actual purpose?
Yeah, that's a very wonderful question, I must say. It's high time the government start delivering better lives to citizens. Citizens need to see the outcome of the government of the day. The money they paid in taxes they ought to see. There is needs for them to see the outcome, and so the government needs to be proactive. The government needs to be more. They should prove to the citizen. And like I said, there is distrust, so there is need for them to begin to do things that will make the citizens also to gain the citizens' trust. They have to change the way things have been doing. They have to begin to provide those basic amenities, because if somebody is doing business and you're asking for taxes, he will say, where's the light? Where's the water? So if we begin to provide all of this, nobody will be shying away from paying taxes. So the government needs to provide these basic needs. Those are the things we call them the dividends of paying those taxes. So if you pay taxes, the citizens are paying taxes. Just